Okay, so here I am. This is my follow-up video on the fire pipes from Congrevape, and I just decided to have it all torn apart today, and you can trust me that this thing will auto fire if you do move an atomizer on this. I'm not going to show that in this video. If anybody wants to see that, I will put this all back together and show that that does in fact happen. Now, we talked before and I mentioned that the wood had cracked on this. And if you look here, you can see that, and if you look down here, you can see the cracks along the bottom. You can see the cracks under the switch, and if you look at that, if I can get the angle right here, what I think really happened with this device is they put this emblem in here, and they put this across the bottom, this plate across the bottom, and this box shrank, but this emblem and this metal piece here kept the wood from shrinking on this front plate. So if you look, you can see that it's bowed down, and this edge is shorter, and I got my caliper out and measured it, and I can guarantee you that this side here is about 1.5 millimeters smaller than this side here. Now if you look on the inside, and I got my flashlight here to hopefully make it so you could see this, you can also see that on the front side where it didn't shrink, the positive plate is fine, but on the back side where it did shrink, the positive plate has started to crunch in also. And I think that goes the same for the side with the button here. The button kept the wood on this side from shrinking, so it started to crack there. But on the other side, where the wood was able to shrink, there is no cracking. And since I've got the light here, I'll show you that better. And it did crack all the way through. You can see the crack all the way through to the inside. Given time, this whole front will split. There's no doubt in my mind about that. The insides where the negative leads go shrank and ripped the insulators off, but I was able to put some new insulator on there and not have an issue with that and that part of it. The bottom of it where it shrank, and I don't know how well you can see these, but the threads on these are definitely starting to strip. I had to use a great deal of force to get those negative leads or pins or screws out of there, because the plate had shrunk in there so much when I first received this that they don't match up. They still don't match up correctly. This is the button, and straight from the shop, this was cross-threaded. I had a real tough time getting it out, and it has the same thing as the other bolts. The threads on it are very much starting to strip out. And what I did to show how much of that had stripped is I took a Q-tip and I put it down in there. And if you look, you can see all the copper shavings from that button on the tip there. If you can't see it, trust me, they're there. I was able to sand these two holes out. I took a dowel rod and I wrapped some sandpaper around it and I sanded these out. Once I got my batteries that were stuck in there out, I was able to sand those out so that batteries would go in there and stay, or not stay, come out, I mean. And the other thing too, you can see if you look that this side is actually smaller than this side, and this is the side with the button that's not letting it contract. You can, the whole thing has bowed. The structural integrity of this device is, I'm scared to use it. I won't use it. I won't leave it with batteries in it. I mean, they'd have been far better off to send it without these two plates in the wood, and I think it would have been fine. I think the whole thing would have shrank. I would have been able to sand these out. The only possible problem I see is this whole positive plate probably would have collapsed and crimped the way it did on this item, or on the one side. These screws are fine. These seem to be fine too. They could have been threaded on there a little bit more. I'm not going to complain about it though. I mean, I realized they had to do this in order to get these so that the insulators need to go in from the top. You can't pull them out from the bottom because it just doesn't go all the way through there with insulators on there. So that's what they did to solve that problem, and even that's getting tight again. I have let this thing soak in lemon oil for several days, and it did drink a lot of that oil up into this wood, but you can still see there's some patchy spots that are dry. I could probably use some more treatment, but I can't see wasting my time treating a box that I'm just not going to use. It's a safety hazard as far as I'm concerned, and I do not recommend that you buy one of these. This item is flawed and in the design. They'd have been far better off to make a panel that you could remove and put the batteries in and out and stuff like that, and done something different to make it so that the shrinking and expanding of the wood would support it, and they just did not do that. This whole box is just a poor design, and I thought about selling it, but I don't want to sell something to somebody else that I feel is unsafe. I couldn't bring myself to do that. I'd rather take a complete loss, and I'm hoping that Congrevape decides to do something to take care of their customers who have bought this. At this point, I would just like a refund. I would send them the box back at my own expense. I don't want refunded for shipping and handling or anything like that. I would send them this box with my own money for shipping and just refund me the money. I don't want the device anymore. It's not what they made it out to be. This was, supposed to be something, that was a good box, and I waited far beyond the period they quoted for production, because they said that they were doing things to make this a safe box, and it's not. It is not a safe box. This box should be recalled, in my opinion. But it all does go back together. As far as these leads go, they go in, the 510 connector still fits. It's tight. You can push it back out. Giving those a push. this box did not live up to the hype for me. I would not recommend anybody do buy this box, even if they do a second version of it. Unless they seal this wood somehow to keep the moisture from leaving the wood, I just would not buy one of these boxes. And like I said, if somebody really wants to see it auto fire, I will put the whole thing back together and I will put batteries in it, and I will show you that just simply by touching the atomizer, it fires. Which means you cannot put this in your pocket, you can't put it in a shirt pocket, you can't set it down and I mean, I've got animals. If one of them were to knock that over, it could send that thing into auto fire mode. And it's dangerous, and I don't recommend it for anyone. And I hope this video was informative and useful to somebody, and I thank you.